Jerry Kostica. I appreciate you being here. We had a little bit of a technical issue as a result of an update on our really cool camera system. They added a bunch of new features, and I forgot they added a bunch of new features. So when we started it up, we had to jump through a bunch of hoops and stuff that we didn't realize we were going to have to. So my apologies for the slightly late start. I like to usually start these right on time, so I do apologize for that. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Once again, my name is Jerry Kostica. I appreciate you being here. We're going to do a quick little distributor training and a couple of announcements that I'm really excited about. So let's get started. So today we do have a lot to cover. For the distributor training topic, we're going to discuss a business concept that my son and I have been bouncing off each other. We refer to it as adaptive marketing. But before we get into that, I want to make a couple of announcements just to get them kind of like established. And I'm going to be covering stuff in more detail later, but I want to just announce these things. So tonight is the official public introduction to the newest marketing magazine available called Heads and Tails. Okay, this is it right here. It's the newest information specifically designed for pet owners and animal lovers. So if you subscribed to the going6a.com subscription email list, then you've already received a notification about this yesterday, actually an exclusive notification, which is one of the reasons that you should be subscribed to our email list, is because you get information before the rest of the public and sometimes in lieu of the rest of the public, okay? So that is a real reason that you should subscribe, is it actually benefits you. And I will be speaking more about the new magazine and a very special offer a little bit later, so make sure that you stay tuned for the important details that are going to come about that. Tonight also starts the countdown sale for the e-book version, the Kindle version of Ride the Wave 6, this guy right here. For the next 5 days, the digital version of Ride the Wave 6 is only going to be $2.99. So this is your opportunity to either get a copy for yourself, or what I suggested to a lot of people is, because this is available through Amazon, and they actually have a way that you can buy multiple copies. So my recommendation would be buy yourself a couple of copies on the digital, and basically it comes with like an activation code for each one. And then as you bring on a new distributor, just send them one of those activation codes as a gift to welcome them on board as a distributor. And right now, you can get it even less expensive, so it's going to be more economically viable and cost-effective for you. Also, this Saturday, February 23rd, 2019, I'm going to be the guest speaker on Eli and Jelina's global conference call. So tune into that for even more great distributor information. So, okay, let's jump into tonight's training topic for our distributors. So we're going to be talking about adaptive marketing. Sorry. Now, I want to start by asking you a question, okay? And that question is, have you ever heard the expression, one size fits all? Yeah, of course you have. We all have, right? But the real question should be, is that actually true? Because it might be for certain products. Not a whole lot, but there might be some products that really one size does fit all. A beach towel. That's probably a product that pretty much one size fits all. And basically because it only comes in one size. Okay, but when it comes to our product, the reality is we have so many different variables involved in what might attract a person to our product, to our business opportunity, to the water itself, to the different types of water. There's so many different things that we definitely do not fall into the one-size-fits-all category. So if we don't fit into the one-size-fits-all category, then why do so many people try to make their marketing approach in Enagic a one-size-fits-all? It just doesn't make any sense. So we're going to talk about this kind of a new concept that we're calling adaptive marketing. Okay, so what exactly is adaptive marketing? Well, before we actually address that, here's a question: have you ever heard of targeted marketing? Okay, and if you haven't, then maybe it's important for us to address that first, because it's going to make the adaptive marketing make that much more sense once you understand the way that targeted marketing works, okay? So let's explain targeted marketing. So targeted marketing is basically the practice of tailoring a marketing campaign around the specific interest, the specific, hot buttons, if you will, of a group of consumers, okay? So let's say that I'm going after gym rats, okay? So I'm gonna present them with, the magazine that has all the information about the athletes and things like that. So basically it's targeted to their specific interest, okay? So targeted marketing is really, it's more about how you take a generalized topic that appears to be specific, okay? So here's a couple of examples. You wouldn't necessarily pitch how great the water is with cooking if you were not dealing with people that had an appreciation for the culinary arts, okay? Along those same lines, you wouldn't pitch to fitness, you wouldn't pitch the aspect of fitness to somebody who has absolutely no intention of going and working out, right? It's just kind of common sense. So it's about what, those are the things that you wouldn't do. What you realize is that it'll narrow down the consumer's interest in order to provide them with information which will best address that interest. But you do it on a larger scale, okay? So you're not specifically finding out that like let's say that my interest is actually in the fitness industry would be basketball. That's really what I really enjoy. I really enjoy basketball. More playing it than watching though, but I really enjoy basketball. So it might not be the best thing for you to give me nothing but football related stuff. It doesn't speak to me, okay? So, but by giving me, information that has a bunch of sports related stuff in there, the likelihood is something in there is going to, get me to respond, okay? Just because of the generality of the sports itself. Maybe you haven't narrowed it down to the fact that basketball is my thing, but you do know that I like sports and athletics, okay? So that's really the approach on targeted marketing, is you're trying to provide them with the general information that is going to get them to respond favorably, all right? So that's targeted marketing. And now that you understand that, let's take a look at adaptive marketing, okay? Because adaptive marketing, it basically takes the same concept as the targeted marketing by narrowing down a consumer's interest, but to a much more specific level. And it's actually customized to the individual. So that's one of the biggest differences between the two, is that, adaptive marketing is kind of targeted marketing on steroids. It's really what it is, okay? Because of how versatile our product is and how different the business is and what people want out of both of those things, both the product and the business, you'll find that the sort of person that purchases an Enagic machine is going to vary greatly. They're going to really be different, between every single person that you deal with, okay? So if I needed to define adaptive marketing, okay, I would define it as the practice of tailoring a marketing campaign or marketing materials to a single consumer's needs, interests, and desires, okay? Now, the most important part of that is a single consumer. Now, granted, if you were just marketing a product, if all we were trying to do is sell a machine, then it might not be necessary to literally go to each different consumer. But the actual reality is that we're not trying to just sell a machine. We're trying to build a relationship. We're trying to potentially nurture a business relationship, a business partnership. And so if you're going to do that, to me it makes a lot more sense to really get to know the person that you're dealing with. I think that's a very important piece because, sometimes personality conflicts arise. I want to go left, they want to go right. And when that happens, it's a good idea to know those things ahead of time so that you can better deal with them when they actually come up, okay? So now that we've kind of identified, kind of a definition of adaptive marketing, let's talk about how to utilize it effectively, all right? So I'm actually I have some really specific notes, and I want to give my son, Nathaniel, a lot of props for this because we've been talking about this for months now, and he gave me a lot of great input about this. And so I just want to say, kiddo, good job. I appreciate your assistance with this. So there's a couple of things that I'm going to literally be reading. I don't normally do that. You guys know that. Normally I just go off the cuff and I'm talking directly to you. So I will be looking down a little bit. I usually don't do this, but I want to make sure I get all this information exactly correct. Okay? So, no, we'll keep it like it is. All right, so how to utilize adaptive marketing. So adaptive marketing consists of every marketing method you can imagine, because for it to be effectively used, you adapt the marketing method to the prospect, okay? These are going to include word of mouth, demonstration, personal experience, videos, audio, printed materials, websites, social media, live trainings, online trainings. I mean, the list just keeps going and going. If it is a marketing methodology, it is encompassed within the aspect of adaptive marketing, okay? Now, like any type of marketing strategy or technique, there's going to be certain protocols that are recommended to follow just in order to maximize the efficiency, okay? So these are the generalized steps. I'm going to go into them in greater detail, okay? So step number one is give out a marketing tool with varied information. An example of that could be like the Healthy Times newspaper. That has a bunch of different stuff in it, okay? So that could be an example of that. Step number two, identify what it is that interested your prospect, okay? What really resonated to them? What was that thing that got their aha moment? What created the aha? Okay, that's what you need to determine. You'll also want to make sure that you're only answering the questions that they have. You don't need to bring up extra stuff. If they have questions, answer those questions because that's all they want answers to. And this one's a really important one. Whenever possible, be sure that they're drinking the water. Remember I said of the different methodologies, one of them is personal experience. Okay, I can absolutely assure you, there have been numerous times where the reason a person bought the machine is because they ate a tomato. Okay? Now you're probably going, what? Ate a tomato? Yes. And for the people who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. At a demonstration, we stripped off the pesticides and herbicides, the oil-based pesticides and herbicides. We brought that tomato back to the way it was supposed to taste, and people popped that in their mouth. And the difference between the washed in tap and the washed in 11.5 is so dramatic. It is so impactful to them that ends up being the domino, that first domino that knocks down that leads to their purchase. Okay? So personal experience is extremely important. So you definitely want to make sure that you're drinking the water. Okay? And then that third step is to laser focus in on what the individual prospect thought was the most important in the reading materials provided or the video or the whatever else, and then follow up with something that follows suit with that topic, okay? Like this, the new pet magazine. So if you have somebody who is interested in, the water for what it's going to do for their pets, I'll give you an excellent example too. Jillian Michaels. It's the reason she bought her machine. I know for a fact. She's on my team. That's why I know for a fact. That's the other thing too. You have to make sure that you're not using conjecture and what people, if you don't absolutely know something when it comes to a person who might have bought a machine or something to that effect, you need to make sure that you don't repeat that information. If you know for a fact, okay, then then it's fine, okay? But if you don't know for a fact, and especially if it's, and if it's connected to you, that's even better. Okay, but I know for a fact that the reason Jillian Michaels bought her machine is because of the effect it had on her dogs. That was the thing that got her attention. That was that first domino. Okay, so this is something very important. Before giving out or directing people to any type of marketing materials, anything, okay, whether it be a video or a magazine or a brochure or a book or whatever, okay, you need to make sure that you review it and completely understand the information. Because if you provide information to somebody or direct them to something that you do not, that they ask you a question that you can't answer, that's on you. That was your mistake. Because what you needed to do is make sure that whatever you're going to send them to, you are familiar with, so that if they do have questions, you can answer those questions effectively, okay, and intelligently. So let's talk about step one again. So this is give out a marketing tool with varied information. Once again, I'll use the newspaper as an example. So your goal by doing this is to provide a wide scope of information that the prospect will be able to take a look at, but it allows them to narrow down their interest because they're given so many options to choose from, okay? Now, what you want to do is after they've read the newspaper, okay, is you want to do a follow-up. Now, the reason you want to do this also is, this is pretty interesting, is that it doesn't matter how good you think you are at sales. The consumer always knows what they want better than you do. And one of the mistakes that a lot of salespeople in general make is that they make the assumption that they know what the consumer wants. And you don't need to make that assumption. If you understand the method of questioning to get response, a person will tell you exactly what they need in order to buy something. They'll tell you. Just most salespeople don't want to wait. They don't want to go through that process. They want to sell, 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 sell. What does sell, 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 sell even mean? It does not mean shove information down your throat, beat you over the head with that, splash water in your face. That's not what it means. It means listen. That's really what it means. Listen, and the prospect will tell you what they need to purchase, okay? Now, the newspaper contents. The reason the newspaper works good as a great introductory type piece is that it's got stuff about environmental, about sports, about general health, diabetes, pregnancy. The list is very, very long. Now, the reason that it has so many different topics is it's the shotgun approach. We're hoping that because of the diversity of information, at least one thing is going to resonate with the prospect. And it's that one thing that lets us know where our next step is. Okay? So let's say that there was an article in the newspaper that about horses, about pets, about something animal related, okay? And they said that they like that. Well, obviously the next step is going to be to give them more information in that area, okay? Again, because there's so many topics covered, that's what gives us the ability to narrow it down so we can start really customizing our marketing approach based on that individual and what really is going to be their hot buttons. Because that's what we want to find. We want to find their hot buttons. It's going to allow us to expedite the process of getting to know somebody. You know, if you have a best friend, you probably know what your best friend's favorite color is, what their favorite toppings on their hamburger are, you know, whether they dip ketchup or squirt it over the top. I mean, it's dumb things like that that you get to know about another person basically as a result of time and exposure. Well, when you're dealing with somebody that maybe you've never even known before, this is the machine, the business, the product. That might be your initial introduction to somebody. Well, if that's the case, then what you really need to do is fast track your familiarity with that person, okay? And this is one of the ways that you can do it. So once you've identified the interest, you can now adapt your approach even further, all right? Which then takes us to step two. So step two is to identify what it is that interested the prospect. And again, only answer the questions that they have and be sure that they're drinking the water. Now, if you might be asking, well, why should I try to be sure that they're drinking the water? It's because it's an entirely different dimension when it comes to, you know, information. The water can do, if a person is dehydrated, okay, I can't talk dehydration out of a person. Okay, I can't send somebody to a website that will cure their dehydration. It doesn't work like that, okay? Unless you type in, www.kangenwater.com and water comes squirting out of the computer, then going online sometimes isn't the most effective way, okay? But allowing a person to feel that change, just like the tomatoes, when you start getting better hydrated, one of the first things, and I think everybody would agree with this, is one of the first things most people say is how much more energy they have. Well, the reason they have so much energy is because they're properly hydrated and their system is working the way it's supposed to. See, people will say, I feel so much better. No, actually, you just felt so much worse. You're actually just feeling the way you should, okay? Or the way you should have from the beginning, all right? So keep that in mind. So in step number 2, the most important thing you can do here during that step is to listen, okay? And listening here actually requires some additional extra attention, okay? Because you not only want to know the topic that they're interested in, you also may need to determine their preferred method of exposure, okay? Like video or audio, printed materials, etc. And you need to find that out because there's so many different ways for a person to garner information in this day and age. It's important to figure out what it is that they really are drawn to, okay? I'm going to give you for instance. I know of a distributor who is I think legally blind. He does not see very well. So obviously, me providing this to him is not going to be that advantageous. His name is Chris Timko. He actually he's taken a lot of my stuff that I've written and he's converted it to like audio files because he physically cannot read what's on the sheet, but he can hear it. So if I don't care enough to find out his preferred method, I might end up wasting a ton of money on materials that I give to this guy that he can't even use. So, and whose fault would that be? If I ended up giving him, giving him this book and giving him this and some brochures and everything, and I end up in my marketing, efforts towards him, I end up giving him $30 worth of stuff for him to read. Then to find out he can't read them. It's not because he doesn't know how to read, it's because his eyes physically aren't able to, okay? Well, that $30 expense, it's not on Chris, that's my fault. Why? Because I didn't even ask. I didn't take the time to find out what was going to be the best way for me to approach him, okay? So you do have to think outside the box a little bit with this. You've got to take a look at it and say, okay, maybe there's other pieces, maybe there's other angles I wasn't thinking about, and I need to think about them. That's the reason we're having this training, is so that if there are those angles that you weren't thinking about, it allows you to go, oh, maybe you're going to have a little aha moment tonight where you go, wow, I never even thought about that. Because which would make more sense? For me to figure out how to get him things and have audio connected to it? Or for me to just waste my money and have him dump as a prospect because of the fact that I didn't take the time to find out what he really needed? Okay? So make sure that you do know that. Now, also, and this happens far too often, you'll get distributors looking to flex their mental muscle. Okay? They want to impress the person that they're talking to with all of the new information that they've learned. Well, it becomes an overabundance of information, okay? And in some cases can actually confuse people. Now, let me tell you something. Most people do not want to be, they don't want to admit to themselves, and they definitely don't want to admit to anybody else that they don't understand something, okay? It's just, they don't want to. So instead of saying, well, I don't really understand this, could you explain it? They'll come up with something else. They'll come up with a different objection to cover the fact that they really don't understand it completely. Oh yeah, oh, this is one of those, pyramid things, or no, yeah, I don't drink water. That's just for poor people. They'll come up with the price of that thing. That's ridiculous. I know personally people, because they've admitted this to me, later on, that their initial objection had nothing to do with what they were saying. It was because they felt stupid. Because they didn't fully understand everything. And so it's important to not overwhelm them. Here's what I tell people they should do, is approach this like a bartender, okay? When somebody comes up to the bar, like cowboys, they, mosey on up to the bar and they're like, barkeep, give me a shot of whiskey. Okay, a shot of whiskey, I want you to view it like some information, right? So you get your shot, you drink it down. If you still have a thirst for additional knowledge, you'll request another shot. But what happens far too often is somebody will mosey on up to the bar and there's a brand new Kangen distributor behind the bar as the bartender. And they say, barkeep, give me a shot of whiskey. And they hit them with a 55-gallon drum. Now the person's just overwhelmed with information. It's too much. And that can really turn them off, okay? So be very cautious about that. Shot glasses of information. And when their thirst has been satisfied, they'll let you know, okay? How will they let you know? They won't ask for any more information. They won't ask for another shot because you've given them what they've needed, all right? Now here too, be sure that they're drinking the water. I can't tell you how many times this is overlooked. And even when you're sampling water to sometimes it's overlooked to actually make sure they're actually drinking it, okay? Because if they're not actually drinking it, you're eliminating, okay, I'm going to give you a personal story about me. Because Daniel DiMicali, who's my sponsor, was bringing me water for a couple of months. And I wasn't drinking it. And I guess I was kind of like, okie dokie him, because he'd say, hey, Jerry, I'm coming over with a new batch of water. And I'd say, yeah, sure, buddy, come on over. And literally, while he was on his way, I was dumping it down the sink. So that when he came, my containers that he had given me the last time would be empty. Okay? He never asked me anything like, hey, so what'd you think of that taste of that water? And, hey, are you noticing any kind of difference? He didn't ask me those things. But, in his defense, it was when we first started and he didn't really know to ask those things, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got the person drinking the water, because for a lot of people, the physical change that they go through once they're properly hydrated is usually substantial enough for them to say, there's something going on here. There's something happening here, and I really need to pay attention to this, okay? And also, here's another thing too, is that the questions that you'll have are going to be different when you're drinking the water from when you're not drinking the water. A question like, hey, why is my pee green? That's a pretty good question. Somebody ever asks you that, for a fact they're drinking the water, because it means that they're going through a detox, and whatever that was in their system is now being able to be expelled, okay? Now, here's something else, okay? You want to listen closely to your prospect in regards to what stood out in the newspaper or the information they gave them and what they are experiencing while drinking the water. And be sure to answer any questions that they may have about the water or the materials. Now, that's one of the other reasons it's really important that you are familiar with all of the materials that you give somebody. Because if they have a question about something in a magazine or a book or in a video or an audio, if they have a question about any of that stuff, you need to be able to answer that question. Okay, I want to put something out there. As a distributor, you have an opportunity. An opportunity has been presented to you. Okay, but opportunities aren't given; they're made. So you need to make the opportunity yours, and the way that you do that is by being prepared and being able to answer those questions. One of my strong suits is I've been able to learn a lot of stuff about this water, about the industry, about a lot of things, okay? Now, granted, I've actually been in and around the network industry for about 25 years. Okay, this isn't my first rodeo with a direct sales company or a network company. Although my other experience previously was not as a distributor, ironically enough. I was actually corporate staff. So I have an understanding of actually both sides of this thing now, especially, I've been in this now 12 years. So yeah, I've learned a thing or two. And it's important that, it was important to me. I don't know, maybe it's just my personality. I don't like not being able to answer somebody's question. I really don't. It's a personal thing for me. I feel like if this is the industry and my career choice, I damn well better know what I'm talking about. Because if I don't, honestly, it's an insult to my prospect. It's an insult to Mr. Oshiro. It's an insult to Enagic. And more importantly, it's an insult to me. Because if I'm going to put myself out there as an expert and then I don't know jack, that's me. And I don't think people should do that. Again, that's my personal opinion. And I do think people need to be up to speed and know their information before they just haphazardly go out there and start spewing stuff out. Because that's how mistakes get made. That's how the wrong thing gets said. And there are ramifications to those type of actions. Okay? So now once you've listened to your prospect completely and have a thorough grasp on their interest, it's time to move to step 3, okay? So step 3 is to laser focus in on what the individual prospect thought was the most important thing in the reading materials or the video or whatever the marketing direction that you're going, okay? That you know exactly what it is that they need for the next step and follow up with something that covers that said topic, okay? Again, the Pet Magazine is a great one. So if you have somebody who, let's say you have somebody who loves pets and they also are a television fanatic and they want to know about, well, who's this? Well, you got to be careful with that because there's privacy stuff. Well, this one, there's an article in here about Jillian Michaels. So that would be a great way to show somebody, oh yeah, Jillian has these dogs. She ended up getting the machine as a result of the way that the dogs were responding to the samples. Yeah, Jillian Michaels was sampled water. And her dogs absolutely loved it. And because she loves her dogs so much, bada bing, bada boom, she got herself a machine. Okay? So that's a way that, and there's stuff in here for dogs, cats, horses. There's even a thing in here for birds. I don't know if you guys, give me a close-up on this one. So this right here, this bottom article, and at the top, I'm going to just toot my own horn a little bit. The one at the top, it's the lab results. And that's actually a white Labrador Retriever in the picture. I don't know. I know it's stupid. I'm a goof. I don't care. But at the bottom, this is Leslie. She's she's a distributor, but she's also an authorized rehab for wildlife, and she specializes in birds. But she also, she's got cats and dogs and horses and all sorts of other things, and children. So she's got every animal out there. But one of the things that she mentioned, it was great too, because I didn't intend on including a bird-related article in there. But when I talked to her, and then she told me, Jerry, one of the things that was the most advantageous for me was being able to clean out their cages chemical-free. Because she said birds actually are very sensitive to a lot of different things. So she said by using the 2.5 to be able to sterilize, a bird cage, because she gets rehab birds, so she'll get she's dealt with like a bald eagle that had a bad wing for a while, and she helped him recuperate. Well, she also has owls and all sorts of falcons and all sorts of birds of prey. Well, because of how susceptible they are to different contagions, she needed to make sure that cage was really cleaned out. Okay. Well, she was able to do that with the 2.5, and so she didn't have to expose them to any of the harsh chemicals that you'd normally need to use to be able to sterilize something like that. Okay, so and it's something like that. There's a lot of people who enjoy birds. That have birds for pets, and that article is going to shed light on something for them that they might not have even ever thought about. Okay, which that's the reason something like that is what you want to use once you've identified what their actual interest is. But finding their interest is really what you need to do, okay? Now, once you've been able to figure out what your prospect actually wants, it's your job to provide them with that corresponding information, okay? You should be providing something that looks professional and has the things that they are interested in. Once again, I'm going to use the new Pet Magazine. So it focuses on a very specific Are we here? Focuses on a very specific interest, okay, which is pets or animals, all right? It's professional quality that shows care and time has went into its production, which gives not only the material, but you a higher level of credibility. It has articles and information inside which will help answer existing questions and create new questions to keep your prospect interested and engaged. And that's really an important piece, okay? So the magazines are the primary source for this type of information that I and many other people use because of that fact, all right? Now, you need to understand that the power in these magazines comes from the niche that they cover and the extensiveness to which they cover it. It also validates the information. In this age of digital everything, information can actually lose value simply by the way it's being presented. It's easy and cheap to produce a document and throw it online, and most people are aware of this fact, okay? Most people know how easy it is to do something like that. And this is one of the reasons that so many attachments and emails are completely ignored. People don't even look at it anymore, right? The value is lost to the ease by which the information is accessible. However, a professionally designed printed magazine, it displays the worth. It's known as perceived value, simply because it did cost money to produce it, and the consumer knows that, okay? Now you couple that with information which is actually valuable. Now the prospect has information which is worth their consideration and their attention. I hope that makes sense, that's the reason for doing something like this, okay? I'll give you another example. Sunlight. The sun is great. It provides us with warmth, vitamin D, keeps humans and plants healthy, animals, everything else. But if your goal is to start a fire, then the sun just shining isn't really going to help a whole lot, right? It's not going to help a whole lot. However, if you focus that light with something like a magnifying glass, you'll be able to achieve the results that you want. So it's about focusing what it is you're looking for, okay? Because your goal was to light a fire. No, actually, your goal is to light a fire in the hearts of your prospects. And that can only be done through a refined and focused approach that's been tailored to the actual individual. That's one of the best ways to do it, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some areas of caution, though. And these, again, I'm going to read these because I wrote some very specific things. So I want to make sure that everybody understands this. That there are some areas of caution when it comes to adaptive marketing. So the first thing that you need to understand and really have caution of is to think that you need to not think that the marketing method that works for you is the same for everyone else, because it's not, okay? It's not. You need to take you out of the equation when it comes to the way that you approach a person. I've seen way too many distributors who figure, well, this is what I respond to, so that's what everybody else will respond to as well. And that's not correct, okay? Adaptive marketing is about adapting to the other person, not expecting them to adapt to what works for you, okay? Now, this can work in a lot of different ways, but I'm going to use a specific example that when we first started here, we had a distributor that we were very close with. He wasn't part of our team, but when he got started, he had to do the in-house financing plan, okay? Well, because of that, when he would talk to a prospect and then they would say, yeah, I'd like to buy a machine, the first thing he offered them was the Enagic finance. And basically what he was doing is he was projecting his own situation and circumstances onto those other people. And so for a lot of them, they were like, okay, that's fine, because that was the first option that they gave and it sounded fine. Well, what ended up happening is this person ended up becoming a 6A, but because so many of their machines were financed, they were broke because all they were getting were the upfront commissions on a finance deal. You guys all know the majority of that money gets paid out on the back end once it's actually been paid in full. So because he was projecting his situation and his mindset onto the other people, it ended up costing him. Now, granted, it caught up 16 months later, but there's nothing worse than being a 6A that's broke, and by your own, kind of by your own making, So it's really important that you take you out of the equation. Start brand new with every single person, okay? The next thing that I want to caution people on is online exposure. So while it's true that many people are glued to their phones and that their electronic devices are a very important part of their life, not everyone runs to the internet for the things that they want or need, okay? In fact, our main target demographic is still the older generation, many of which only use technology products when they absolutely have to, okay? So be careful putting too much emphasis on online activity, at least for now, okay? The demographic will change as time progresses, but if you're looking at the here and now, be sure you know your market, okay? Be sure you know who it is that really are the main people that are buying these machines right now, okay? I hate to break it to you, but it's not 15-year-old kids. That's not the people who are buying these machines. The main people who buy these machines are typically between 35 and 65. So those are the people you need to know what their habits are, okay? And then adjust your stuff to their habits, okay? Another point that I think is really important that people need to consider, all right? The internet is great for mass marketing, but you need to realize that mass marketing, something that the masses aren't familiar with, it's extremely difficult, okay? Mass marketing only works when the masses at least have a general idea of what it is you're actually marketing, okay? The last point regarding online exposure is the lack of control of accurate information. You need to understand that other ionizer companies offering lower quality machines often create elaborate online campaigns, even with fake review websites or just blatantly misleading information as a way to try to influence the buying decisions of a consumer, okay? And the vast majority of these, and I'm talking like 99% or more, are virtual, and they reside only online. So if you direct somebody to the internet for information, you need to make sure that you're providing them with very direct links. And if they can be protected, you also want that. What I mean by that is, don't just send them a YouTube video that has 50 other videos off to the side, 49 of which are from, these other ionizer sellers slamming an addict. You need to know what you're actually sending somebody, because if anybody thinks that a person is not going to go online, first and foremost, you're wrong. They're going to, okay? And if you don't at least kind of guide their hand, what they end up getting exposed to is anybody's guess, okay? So, and you have to realize, if you don't think that your prospects are going to go online unless you give them a link, you're wrong. And the other ionizer sellers are actually banking on that. They're banking on it. That's how that's why these guys pay for keywords. If you put in Kangen water, the first 4 things have nothing to do with an adjunct. They've been bought by these low-end ionizer sellers, and they're buying up keywords so that when you put in Kangen water, Life Ionizers pops up. Well, why is that? Because they're paying for it. Why? Because their product isn't strong enough for them to actually go on the merit of their product for their sell-through, and they have to use our prospects to try to feed their business. That's exactly what they do.
No one's looking up Life Ionizers.
Yeah, because nobody's looking up Life Ionizers. They're looking up Kangen water. They're looking up Enagic. That's why these guys do that, and they know it. So why would they go through the expense of paying a bunch of distributors to get the word out? Why would they take the time to really build something that is worth the consumer's consideration if all they have to do is manipulate an algorithm in order to drive traffic to their site based on my efforts, based on your efforts? See, that's why they do that. So, if you're not providing with your people with direct links, okay, and as protected as possible, all right, there's no telling where your prospect's going to wind up and what kind of bogus information that they're going to be exposed to. So, if you don't do that, you're basically sending Daniel into the lion's den. But the results will vary greatly from that biblical story on how that one turned out. Okay? And what I mean by that is your prospect's going to get eaten. Okay? Which is not good. So let me do a quick summary here. With adaptive marketing, you take marketing efforts from the masses to the individual. Okay? And I think one of the reasons that this is so effective is that people like feeling special. They like feeling like an individual, not like, oh, this is the same information that 100 other people have been given. They want to feel like you're talking to just them, okay? Because it makes people feel good. Because that means that you've taken the time, the effort to really understand what it is they want, what they want. Forget about what you want, okay? It's what they want. Because if you understand what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. It's the way that it works, okay? So beyond targeted marketing, where you look again for that specific approach based on that widespread need or interest, it is adapting your approach to the specific person that you're dealing with. And I think, like I said, most people do like to feel like that you care. They don't want to just be another face in the crowd. They want to be the face in the crowd. Does that make sense? I hope. So, real quick, the goal is to help people. Remember that, okay? At this point, you should be learning as much about your prospect as you are expecting them to learn about our products. All right? You need to identify their personal needs, identify their profession, their job, identify personal interest, and again, how they learn, whether it be through a video or an audio or a printed or whatever it might be. Those are your responsibilities to find that out. You need to learn and be ready. You need to know the product so you know the different uses. So when a person tells you what it is they're after, you know how to identify that. You need to have tools and resources to be effective. Use your in interests to approach those like you. See, that's the other thing that, if you're a niche, let's say that you're a vet. You're a veterinarian. That means that the vast majority of people that you deal with on a daily basis have something to do with animals. Right? Wouldn't that only make sense? So that's a niche that you could facilitate when it comes to providing information. All right? Take advantage of every opportunity to expose prospects to our info, okay? And again, whether that be videos, printed information, live demos, live trainings, online stuff, whatever it happens to be, okay? When done correctly, adaptive marketing is one of the most effective ways for a distributor to expose their prospects to everything that an adjutant has to offer. Become familiar with as many different types of marketing as possible, and develop an expertise for listening and adapting your approach to your prospect. Be sure to share this information with all of your distributors so that they can also learn how to maximize their efforts just like you're doing, okay? Again, quick announcements. So like I said at the beginning of this thing, tonight is the official introduction of the newest marketing magazine. Yay! This thing took some time. Heads and Tails is now available. And I'm actually extending a special introductory offer. So the magazine is available in a power pack. Now the power pack consists of 25 copies of the magazine and a free bonus of 3 50-pack brochures. It's going to be, 3 of these, probably, one. We're going to try to mix it up to where there's 1, 2, 3 different ones. But you might get all 3 of one, or you might get 3 different ones. But you'll get 3 for free. There's no additional charge on that. The magazines have a cover price of $14.95, but they are on sale for 50% off the normal selling price of $6 for the next 72 hours. Okay, so I know that's kind of confusing. Right now, you're going to get 25 of them at $3 a piece. That's what it's going to be. When the sale ends, they're going to go to $6. The power pack with the free bonus materials has a retail value of actually over $400. But the quantities are going to be very limited. on what we can do with these power packs, and the sale will end soon. So the link to order is in the chat, or you can just visit the Going 6A Distributor Resource website and click on the store link in the menu bar top right. Okay. Again, also tonight starts the countdown sale for the ebook Kindle version of Ride the Wave 6. For the next 5 days, the digital version of Ride the Wave 6 is available for only $2.99, and you can purchase additional copies, and you will get sent activation codes for those. So this might be a really great way for people to stock up on that, to be able to have that you can send to your new distributors. One of the really cool things about the digital version as well is that it is all the images inside are in color, which is kind of cool, because in the printed version, they're all in black and white, because that was the difference. Oh man, the difference was huge when it came to printing costs. So I didn't think you guys wanted to spend $50 for this, so I just kept the black and white. So also this Saturday, February 23rd, 2019, 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to be the guest speaker on Eli and Jelina's global conference call. So tune in for even more great distributor information. Make sure that you receive notices by subscribing to our email list. Go to going6a.com and click on subscribe. It's an opt-in email. You'll be able to know all about stuff. And I'm just going to let everybody know this. So the people who were on my email list that purchased they had a day's advance notice on this, they're actually getting even more stuff because they are subscribers. So their power pack is going to include even more free stuff. So it's another great reason to make sure that you're subscribed. Okay? So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you found the information useful, and I hope everybody really likes the new Heads and Tails Pet Magazine. My name's Jerry Costiga. I apologize for starting a little bit late, but we're going to end a little early, so it all kind of balances out. So thank you again for being here. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their week, and just get out there and keep doing what everybody's doing, and let's really make this thing happen. 2019 is going to be an amazing year, so we can all do it. And here's one more tool to help you. All right? Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys soon.